Stay in your lane.
Welcome to the Mind Your Own podcast with Aaron Sorensen and Sasha Durkin, where we stick to sports, except when we're not.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mind Your Own podcast. I'm Aaron.
I'm Sasha.
And it is fall in Nebraska. It is officially fall, although one of my favorite meteorologists, Matt Surwey, said we have to stop marking seasons based on like time period in a year because it really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But it still feels like fall. I woke up this morning, it was 51 degrees outside. My allergies are in full swing. It is officially fall.
Same. Like, I was so excited over the weekends. Actually, this was just yesterday, like I had to wear a hoodie because I don't like being cold. Mm-hmm. And I love hoodie and jogging weather, like wearing joggers, because I don't dress up for anything. I either look like I'm going to the gym or have just left the gym at all times anymore.
My fashion throughout the week, like I noticed something the other day, like for me, Mondays are like business casual kind of days. Mm-hmm. And then it progressively gets more and more casual throughout the week. And then Saturdays are like New York Fashion Week for me. So like Saturday, Mondays are like my 2 days where like and this is so strange. So like I was actually thinking this the other day. I love clothes and fashion and shoes. It's just one of the things about me. Like if I had like the wherewithal to do it, I would love to be like a fashion Instagram.
Lovely. Mario. The time, bro.
Mario does not agree with my choices. No, if I had like the wherewithal to be like a fashion Instagram influencer, I'd love it. But like, it's so hard to do that. Like I have like the utmost amount of respect for like the women and men on Instagram and TikTok and everything who are like so good at being like, this is what I'm wearing today. Cause I do that and I look like a damn fool. I look so, but I was like excited. Well, I was just excited because like after a year of basically living in like, I have so many leggings and sweatpants and I'm like, I'm just gonna have to start wearing leggings and sweatpants at like press conferences because I have so many that like I'm not wearing now because I have to actually be in person with people right. and dress business casual. So like, if you see me trying to make like sweatpants, like trendy, they are kind of trendy, but I'm saying like, yeah. I'm not talking like the like casual joggers that people like wear with like the cute jean jackets and stuff. No, I'm talking like Erin showing up in her like Midland University sweatpants that she
with
had
the elastic at the bottom.
If you see me showing up like that, trying to make that work, maybe sit me down and have a conversation.
How are you feeling?
Yeah. Are you feeling all right? Well, I haven't worn these in a while and just thought today was the day.
It's a day of comfort is what today is.
It is definitely hard to be around people. But
sure.
I will say I definitely got into, this is also going to sound weird. No one cares, but I feel like I kind of like evolved my own personal fashion over the last year with like being more, comfortable all the time and not feeling like I have to dress in a way that doesn't make me feel comfortable because I'm sitting at home. And I think I kind of learned that I definitely like more, and I've always kind of been like this, but I think the last year really helped me see like, I love that like athletic dressed up kind of like the like in between. Mm-hmm. I think the people who do that, and there was a lot of really amazing Olympians who do that. So like the Olympics this year, I was just like, wow, you all look so great. But like, I like that style. You just got to figure out how to like bring that style to game day.
Incorporate it.
Well, Sasha, how are you? How is life?
I'm good. I had like one of those weird moments this morning where like, and the word that popped in my head when I was thinking about this was much greater than what I'm going to say right now because I can't remember what it was. A juxtaposition is what the word was. Like, I feel like I'm 37, but like, I know that I'm closer to 40. And I'm like, I had one of those moments where I was like, am I doing what I should be doing with my life? Am I doing what I want to be doing with my fitness? I was like questioning everything. And I was like, dude, it is too early for this. It is 5:59 in the morning. Like I'm good though. Like I'm good. I'm better than I have been in recent weeks.
I feel that though. I'm about to turn 34 here shortly. And I always kind of do that where I'm like, am I exactly where I need to be? And I think that's what's so hard about, honestly, just the access and availability to social media and to everything else is seeing what other people are doing. And I will say, I have to give her a ton of credit. Laura Oakman, who started Galvanize, who I was able to get involved with more over this past summer, when I was a part of her boot camp, she kept saying, like, you have to stop looking around and looking over your shoulder and looking at what somebody else is doing in their path and going like, well, is that where I should be? Am I not where I'm supposed to be? Because all of our paths are different and all of our paths are going to get us to a different end, but like they're going to get us where we need to go. And so it was just a good, helpful reminder, but it's one that like I have to tell myself constantly.
Same.
Because I'm always just like, oh, this person got this opportunity or, oh, this person got this. And it's like, does it matter at the end of the day? No.
Right. Yeah.
But I totally feel you. I have those moments a lot.
It's really, and when I start to feel like that, I realize that I need to probably just get off of social media for the day because comparison definitely is like the death of joy. Like, how can you realistically be joyful in the life that you're living if you're constantly comparing yourself to others? And so those are the days where I'm like, well, we will not be checking any social media today because that's just where I'm at.
Well, it's actually really, I'm not going to say I'm perfect. I still find myself having those moments of like jealousy or feeling a certain way about things. And whenever I do, I have to kind of stop myself and be like, let's kind of self-examine why you're feeling this way, because it's always about me. It's never about the other person. Yep. However, I will say, as I have gotten older and I feel like I have matured quite a bit, and I'm constantly trying to learn, but I have become more and more aware of when others are doing that to me. And there are sometimes like this isn't what we were going to talk about today, but just as like a quick note, I think sometimes, especially in spaces that are male dominated, like women are expected to just like blindly support one another. And like, I am all for like, we need to support women in sports, support women in male dominated spaces. Like there is no reason not to support women unless like they give you a reason not to. Right. But I also say like, you don't need to like, just because someone is a woman, that doesn't mean you just need to go and like blindly throw support if they're being mean to you or they're acting a certain way, or maybe their values don't align in the way that like something that you would support. Like you can still be supportive without necessarily throwing everything you have behind.
Absolutely.
But I mean, I've come across where I can tell the person that I'm meeting is getting a vibe from me that maybe they don't like, or is getting a vibe from me that like we're just at different stages, and maybe they are like looking at my career and trajectory and thinking like, well, why are you here and I'm not? And so like I've had to kind of, my mindset had always been like, why doesn't this person like me? Why doesn't this person accept, like, what is going on here? And I think I've had to come to find that like I can't, similar to anything in life, I can't make everyone like me. Not everyone's going to appreciate the path that I've been on. Not everyone's going to appreciate the path I'm trying to be on. And that's okay. There are going to be people where the dynamic doesn't work. And so that was a long-winded way of me saying like, I think as I've gotten further along in my job, not only am I realizing when I do that to other people, but I'm starting to recognize when people do it to me. Yeah. And that has been a humbling experience to kind of realize like, the way I feel, it's kind of like the way I feel sometimes where like, I feel that sense of jealousy. Of course, people are going to feel that on the reverse. And so it kind of has helped me humble myself and like kind of accept how I feel about things as I'm kind of going through them, processing them. And yeah, I don't know if any of that made sense, but it's just one of those things, especially where comparison is the thief of joy. So like, I'm trying not to steal my own joy because I can't control what other people think and feel and act. And like, we're not all going to be like best friends. So I just always try to say like support each other, but that doesn't mean like you have to go run out and grab coffee every single day.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, I had over the last, it's been damn near 2 years now that we've been dealing with a pandemic. But at this point isn't an endemic, but semantics. But like just realizing that a lot of the time other people's reaction is in some way a projection of maybe something that they're going through.
Yes.
And then also realizing that sometimes when I'm reacting to something that somebody else is doing, that's also me projecting something, and like finding what the root of that is and then doing some work on that so that either the emotion that comes along with whatever I'm reacting to lessens itself, or at least I'm very then aware of why I'm reacting a certain way to something.
Right. Oh yeah. And I actually feel like this goes really well into what we did want to talk about today. I do want to just say really quick, especially because we had the episode on name, image, and likeness, which if you have not listened to that, things have changed, but please go listen to it. It's our first NIL episode, and we will have to have Matt Brown back. But Matt Brown of Extra Points joined us to kind of talk through the initial stages of NIL. But this one was just interesting enough where I wanted to share it with everyone, point it out. But DJ Graham, he is Oklahoma's DJ Graham had just this incredible one-handed interception against Nebraska. It became just social media fodder within like 3.5 seconds.
Yeah.
What was wild about it is, and this is really smart business. This is just really smart business. By the time that we have recorded this podcast, so 3 days after this game and that interception happened, he has t-shirts, hoodies, all of this line of things for people to buy. And here's what it says: wear the moment for DJ Graham's one-handed grab, one of the all-time great interceptions. It's officially licensed by him through a t-shirt provider. I mean, that's just really smart business dealings because this is one where you've got to take advantage of that fast. He got somebody to basically draw an illustration of it, put it together. It looks really nice. You can get it on t-shirts, hoodies, different things. And I mean, the reason it kind of stopped me is I saw Kelly Mosier, who's a friend of mine. He works for Huddle, previously has been with Nebraska. He's awesome at what he does. He quote tweeted somebody that was talking about that moment. And it was kind of being called the Instagram interception because you cannot blame him for making that interception. It was great. But it flipped the field in Nebraska's favor. It kept Nebraska in the game. So Kelly's tweet reacting to this other tweet said, totally this, you're going to see this play everywhere, but it wasn't the best play that he could have made for his team. It's the perfect social media play. Huskers kept the field position and bring in the possession. So I was talking with Kelly and he wanted to be clear. It is the perfect social media play, but it's also not the best play, like he said, that he could have made in that moment for his team, which makes for an interesting dynamic. It's always existed, but it's potentially amplified now. Not that he made that play because of NIL. Absolutely not. I do not want someone's takeaway to be like, oh, he made that. Like, that catch was near damn impossible. There's no way that he could have known he was going to make it and was going to look the way it did. But players, no matter what, NIL or not, have always had to make a decision if they're going to make a play that is best for them or best for their team. They didn't end up losing, so it didn't end up costing really anything for Oklahoma in the long run, but it could have, and that's a bigger discussion. But, in that moment, he made a great play for himself. Was it the best play for Oklahoma? Probably not. Actually, it wasn't, but it's fine in the long run for him, and he's not taking advantage of it. It's a really interesting dynamic that NIL has added this layer on top where some people might be frustrated with him over that play because why did you do that? Why didn't you just bat it down? Why didn't you just do this? But now he's taking that and turning it into a business opportunity. So I'm interested. I'm sure there are people out there who are frustrated with that, but strike while the iron is hot. You made a hell of a catch. Your team still ended up winning. So go make some money off of it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and before we started recording, I brought up, can you imagine if NIL existed with the Jordan Westerkamp behind the back catch? You got to capitalize on those moments as a player because one, there isn't a guarantee that you continue playing this game further down the line. And if there's a money-making opportunity for you in the NIL era, then like you said, you strike while the iron's hot. At the end of the day, everything you said is true, but he's also got to look out for his best interest. And if that includes making money off of a catch like that, then why not?
Oh yeah. I don't like, and I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if there aren't people out there, and I haven't gone looking for them, but people who are thinking like, oh, you know, does this mean players are going to try to make these big catches for NIL opportunities? I don't think so. No. Players have always tried. It does add an interesting dynamic. That is all I will say. And that's where I think Kelly, I really appreciated his thoughtfulness on it, because it does add a dynamic that maybe we weren't thinking of like what they do when these moments happen and how they quickly capitalize on them. But overall, I mean, players are always going to end up trying to make the best and biggest. We see it all the time in all sports. Players, they're athletes, they're competitive. They want to not only do the best for their teams, but for themselves. So many of these players in college football are trying to make it to the NFL. These are all things that they put on their resume. So aside from NIL, they were always going to try to like show people, look how good I am. Look how good I can be. Now, an NFL scout might go, well, you should have batted it down. Right. But that's beside the point. It was still a hell of a catch. He showed athleticism that is like going to impress people. So
definitely
good for DJ Graham. Go get your money. This is that time. But to kind of go back to what we were just saying, and, you know, kind of looking at the world, I was just it was really actually serendipitous. Like, I never say that. I was going to say synergy and then serendipitous. That's correct. But I was talking with Sadie, Sasha's co-host of the Meathead Test Kitchen. If you haven't listened to that podcast, I really recommend it. But I was talking with Sadie about this because I have started trying to really post more on TikTok and grow my following there. And I wish all of you could see it. Sasha is just getting like all the attention from her dog, Mario. It's the best thing ever. My dogs keep wandering in and around, but they have now settled wherever they're at. But we were talking just about hate comments and mean comments on the internet. And this kind of goes back to that we're talking about self-reflection and like understanding like why people act the way they do, say things to you. And it's often a reflection of that person more than it is anything about you. Like anytime, and I don't say that like make yourself feel better. If you're being a jerk to people and someone calls you out, like that is not a reflection on them. That's a reflection on you.
Right. Consequences.
Yes.
Of your actions.
Exactly. But it's just, if you're going to spend any time on the internet and try to grow any kind of following, you are going to inevitably be met with people leaving really nasty, awful comments. And I'm always in my mind, like, where is that person at in their life that they were willing or they were able to come and leave that comment, and just like, it doesn't ruin their day. It ruins mine, but clearly something else is going on with them that made them feel comfortable to do that. So Sadie and I were talking about that, which I had mentioned to Sasha, and Sasha's like, yeah, I just like kind of, you know, this is kind of where I'm at. So yeah, let's just talk about hate comments, because Sasha, you had an example of what you and Sadie were dealing with Meathead Test Kitchen and TikTok. Yeah,
it's kind of crazy because I didn't realize the power of that platform, one, and two, didn't ever think that I would be on the receiving end of comments like that. You see it all the time, especially being a woman in the space in general. It seems like there's a lot of mansplaining or just derogatory comments made because you're able to be anonymous behind a keyboard on the internet. And what I had said was, typically I just ignore those types of comments. I don't go out of my way to call them out, because in my mind, I'm not going to give you any more attention for being an asshole on the internet. But your counter to that was, it is those small comments, though, sometimes that stick with you. And yesterday it did stick with me. So if anybody saw my tweet, I literally said, it takes less time and effort to simply say nothing at all and to scroll on by than it does to be an asshole on the internet. Like, literally say less. Because
say less.
literally say less. The comment was, there were two of them back to back, like two brain dead women podcasters. And then we happened to use the F word. And it was a post about us thanking our listeners for asking really smart, intelligent, and well thought out questions. And the other comment was, sounds smart as F. And then the laughing emoji. Like, I don't understand why. Why take time out of your day to say things like that to people you don't know on the internet? But to your point, those comments did stick with me yesterday. It didn't hit me right. And for Sadie, she lived through she lived through Hurricane Maria. They lived in Puerto Rico at the time when that happened. And it was September 20th. So she was already having a bad day. And then to get comments like that on top of it, I think my initial reaction was more so upset, because how would they know, it's a stranger on the internet, that she was having a day like that? But that's why you don't make those comments, because you don't freaking know. And somebody in a worse mindset could have taken those completely to heart, and you just don't know. And that's why I hate seeing comments like that. I know that it's not going to stop, but that's why I always urge people to it takes zero effort to be nice, or just not say anything at all. And not knowing what someone's going through. Like, you just don't know.
Yeah. And I think, we kind of going back to what we said, like in a recent episode about disruptors, like people don't like disruptors. A lot of times people want to disrupt the disruptors because they want you to leave that space. Yep. And, in this case of Meathead Test Kitchen, and why I have such an immense amount of respect for what Sasha and Sadie are doing is they're coming at fitness and health from a perspective of, one, women, but two, also from, I feel like the health and fitness space is very dominated by a very specific, almost not intimidating is not the word. It's almost like when you think of the gym, and when people, women primarily, say I don't like to go to the free weight section, because people just stand there and are awful, and you feel like the men in that space are just being really inappropriate, and they don't want you there. That is kind of what I feel like a lot of the health and fitness space is. And some of it's because you watch shows a long time ago, The Biggest Loser, and that's the coaches. The coaches are right. Kind of these intense, mean. It's this. I'm really failing at my words today, but I feel I guess how I'm trying to say this is Meathead Test Kitchen comes across as very approachable for somebody who is, especially for women, just trying to find a place, a home where the people on the other end understand that their journey is going to look different based on who you are. And so even episodes you're trying to bulk and what that means, it's things that for a lot of people, bulking sounded scary prior, because they're well, that means I'm just going to there's always this belief that women, if they bulk, they're just going to get huge. And it's first and foremost, maybe that's what you want, but if it's not, that's also not what that means. There are different ways that you can approach your health and fitness. So anyway, I digress. I'm not doing a very good job explaining. I just would say Meathead Test Kitchen comes across as very approachable. It's very welcoming, especially as a woman, to have two women who are speaking on this. And I think when you are a disruptor like that, especially in a space where men, because most of your hate comments are coming from men, and it's a very insecure
Literally
place.
all of them.
Literally all of them. Yep. I mean, all of my hate comments for me come from men. And it is always in my space, anytime I post about women in sports, I'm always met by men who are women have the same opportunity. If they don't get those opportunities, that's on them. Women have the exact same opportunity. And I will say, this one person really surprised me on a recent TikTok comment. They came across my video and said something women have women can be just as great as men, blah, 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 blah. And I was I'm going to see if this person was trolling or not. Like my
Mhm.
better instinct is don't respond, but I'm just going to see if they were trolling or not. So I responded and was like, yes, women can do just as well, if not better at anything, but they have to have the opportunities to prove that. They have to have the opportunities in that space. If we're not giving them that opportunity, then it doesn't really matter. How can they be great? And this person came along and was like, 100% agree with you. I was like, oh,
Thank you.
hold up.
Yeah.
Like you weren't trolling. All right. So I'm glad I like didn't like completely brush you off. But it's always men telling women, you're wrong, you don't get it, you're dumb, you're ugly. It's the amount of people who've told me when I don't agree with them, I'm suddenly now fat, I'm suddenly now ugly, I'm suddenly now this or that, just because I didn't like agree with their assessment.
Right.
It's damaging behavior, because I'm like, who are you people in real life?
Yeah, for real. I think it goes much further and beyond. Like everybody has a mother. Everybody, not everybody has a sister, but every person has a female in their life. And like well, would you say this to that person? In those moments, they're not thinking about that, one. And two, when it comes to some of the comments that we receive, it's the thing about fitness and nutrition and all of that. It's a very male dominant space, but also all of the things that we've all been told our entire lives have all been geared towards men. Every workout program, every nutrition program, all of it. So then to have women in this space, and there are several of us, coming out and breaking things down in a way that kind of debunks all of the money-making opportunities that some of these people have had. You're making money off of people because they don't know any better, because they've been told a certain set of rules their entire freaking life. So when you change that conversation around it, it can be intimidating to certain people in those spaces, because they're not used to women being frank about it or representing a different populace of people, just like in sports or any of that. But to just, when you oversimplify it and just like attack somebody because of how they look and not because of the information that they're presenting to you, it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand it.
Oh, and I want to point this out as well for anyone who's like, what about health and fitness and how it's geared toward men? Okay, so I'm literally Sasha's too. I'm wearing a Whoop, and I love my Whoop. Love my Whoop. I've learned so much about my own personal health because of it that I did not realize. Like, so even just between my fiance and I, like the way that my body resets and like how I rest and everything is so different than his. And obviously we're two different people, but we're also, he's a man, I'm a woman. Like there are just different physiological shit happening that makes things different. But when I was talking for a story for Hill Varsity on Nebraska volleyball and its use of Whoop, and then other sports at Nebraska are starting now to use Whoop, Whoop has partnered with certain schools and certain women's athletic programs like Nebraska volleyball, because even Whoop, who has been around since I think 2012, has admitted their platform was designed and developed around men specifically, because that is the data points that people had historically. It was always based on men. So when you're talking about your heart rate variability and you're talking about resting heart rate and you're talking about different things, it has always been geared around what has worked for men. And that is not even just on Whoop. That is Whoop taking information as it's building its platform and then realizing our platform pretty much is built to serve men. Now, women can definitely learn, but like we are not equipped. We are not equipped to help the women of our platform better understand their body and physiology, because we have not spent the time. So they are currently in a study right now to not only understand how women's bodies respond to stress and to different outside factors. And cool fact for those of you who are Nebraska volleyball fans, Nebraska volleyball is one of the programs that is a part of this with Whoop to better understand women's bodies. So when you see Nebraska players wearing Whoops, that is what is going on. They are not only understanding the individual athlete, but they are using Nebraska athletics to help further understand women. That's pretty damn cool. Now, they have admitted this took way too long for them to do it. Like understanding how menstrual cycles play into how women recover, how like, even just like the fact that like, sorry, I got so into the weeds with this, with like this story when I was doing the research, because like Whoop is this like brand that is building, and they're even the ones going, we're not fully equipped to handle women correctly yet. And we're working to fix it. Like they are acknowledging, I mean, I'm sure you've gotten them too, Sasha. I've gotten studies where they've asked, like, would you participate in this study? Can we like take your data on these particular things so that we can help kind of understand? But like, as we start to understand that obviously women are different,
Yes.
and that is going to change how we approach things. People push back on that. People push back on change because it's easy to live in comfort. It's easy to live in what we've known. And I think you get met by a lot of people who just want to be like, I see it in sports. I promise these are connected when I make this point. I see it in sports when social justice issues are becoming more and more forefront in sports, which, by the way, sports have always been political.
Yes.
This is not new. But as it's becoming, as social media and platforms have given voices to people who historically wouldn't have that platform because people weren't, they weren't getting the interviews or they weren't getting the media coverage. As you're hearing more and more and more and more from people, you're seeing the sport change.
Yep.
In my opinion, it's not changing for the worse, but people are afraid. They don't want the change. They want sports to be their escape, just like they want health and fitness to be this thing that makes them feel warm and fuzzy and how like they felt about it. But like when people are saying, but that doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy, so it has to change a little bit because I can't exist in this space.
Yep.
They come through and it's always personal attacks. It's always, you suck, you don't belong here, you're ugly, you're this, and it's the thing that they don't realize is it's dropping bombs because they drop it and they leave. We can block them, we can get rid of them, but then we get to think about it.
Yep. 100%.
And they get to move on with their day, and usually they feel justified in what they've done.
Right. Because they don't have to deal with the consequences of their actions because they've been blocked or whatever. I find it frustrating, especially like, I mean, and there are in Nebraska, we're in Nebraska, obviously. There are gyms that are opening up that are specifically for women, like no men are allowed, but it's specifically for women, a safe space for them to go. So then when they walk up on the platform and are trying to do a deadlift, some dude doesn't walk up to them and question why they're doing something. It doesn't affect you in any way. Why are you in my bubble? Like, get out of it. I don't understand. Honestly, like the word audacity is the only thing I can think of. Like the audacity to come up to somebody when they're doing something, whether that be working on the sidelines, whether that be standing on a platform at the gym, and to come up and question why that person is there is why we have these conversations. Stop doing that. I belong here just as much as you do. Just like anybody working in sports that's a female belongs in that space.
Oh, I remember you saying that about the deadlifts. I remember being at the gym. This was a few years ago now, but I was doing crunches and this random ass man, which this just made me think of the TikTok. Sorry, I'll come back to that. But he comes up to me and critiques my form and is like, that's not what you want to do. And I will say, since doing Peloton, Matty Majacomo, he is like an ab, like that is like his thing. One of his like strengths is like ab work. And I always appreciate him because he's like, okay, you can have your hands here. You can have your hands here. He's like, it doesn't really matter to me. What I care more about is your form. And if like your back is flat on the floor. So like if you have to have your hands behind your head to make that happen, great. If you are having a day where your neck is hurting and you need your hands behind your head, great. The fact that you showed up and you're putting in the work, like you'll keep getting better. You'll keep progressing. And like, I appreciate that because so many people want to be like, you're not doing it the way I would do it. And that's fine. Everyone does things differently. I have to just like throw this random caveat out here because I mentioned it. So there's this TikTok creator. He's so funny. I can't think of his name. I could go find it really fast, but I'll spare you all me like searching through my phone. But he responds to his hate comments by creating diss tracks. So like he's a rapper, like music creator. And every single time he does. And this one is so funny because this person came along and I don't even remember what the hate comment was, but I'm like, this person had to like, if this person didn't delete their account, The beginning of it is, I'll be damned. I'll be damned if I listen to words about, or like facts about the mouth of a man with an unwashed ass.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That one. And I mean, a lot of people know that little clip, but
Yeah.
it's like a minute and a half of him just roasting this person. And everyone in the comments was like, imagine leaving that hate comment and coming back the next day and being like, I not only have to delete my account, I have to delete my life. Like,
Right.
I have to like go into hiding because this person just absolutely eviscerated me. But it's like, point being, people just like, gosh, you know what? The world is shitty enough as it is.
Mhm.
Like, you don't need to make it worse.
Nope.
You don't need to make it worse. If you don't like something, if you don't agree with somebody, move on. I think there's a healthy way. I don't want to encourage people not to share, like, hey, I don't agree with. So, like,
Right.
we're all watching a football game on Saturday and I see something and maybe you don't agree with the way I saw it. If you come into my mentions and you're like, yeah, I don't know if that's not how I interpreted that. Actually, I don't agree with you on that. And this is why. Like, that is fine. Like, let's have that disagreement. If you come into my mentions and go, you're an idiot, you shouldn't even have your job. It's like, hold up a second. Like, this is like, there are differences between having healthy disagreement and discourse and just being a jackass. And a lot of times those comments come like, if I'm watching Real Housewives and someone's like, oh geez, like how dare I, a person who works in sport, have an interest in something other than sports? And sorry for my trash television viewing. I'm aware that I watch a lot of trash, but I also don't care because that trash television doesn't make me feel bad.
Right.
But the fact that people always want to hate on that, I'm like, you understand, you could keep just scrolling. You see that tweet, you don't have to like, you don't need to waste a moment of your day worrying about it. Just look at it and be like, yeah, I don't care. Keep moving. It's amazing, but you have a choice to just keep going.
Yeah, you have a choice to just scroll on and not say anything at all. I just don't understand what compels people to feel like they have to say something. Like, we don't, just because social media exists doesn't mean you have to comment on everything. You could just shut up. You could just be quiet and not say anything about it. If I'm doing something or if I'm posting a billion pictures of my dog, I don't need you to comment on, oh, gee, why don't you post another picture of your dog? Thanks, I will. I love my dog. He's freaking cute.
In fact, I'm now just going to spam them all to you. Like,
exactly. Like, why even, like, at that point, you're just opening yourself up and making yourself look like a jackass. Like, you don't have to do that. I get wanting to comment on stuff. And like, that's like my love-hate relationship with social media. Like, we are all out there sharing stuff like all the time. It doesn't mean it needs to be commented on all the time. If you don't agree with it or you don't like it, like, just don't say anything. That's what I do. Wow, I don't agree with that. It takes 0.5 seconds to move the screen up and just not say anything.
Like, yeah, because I mean, this is one that it's not sports related, so sorry, I don't care. But Casey
what we
Musgraves,
do on this podcast anyway.
This podcast like started with the intentions of maybe being semi-sports related, and we just took a very sharp left turn from like the get-go, and we're just like, see y'all later. No, Casey Musgraves released her new album a week and a half ago, Star-Crossed. I'm a Casey Musgraves fan. I have been since the beginning. I'm going to be that person. I've loved her since day one. But anyway, I have. Golden Hour was an incredible album. I get it. There's a reason y'all, that there is a reason that album won Album of the Year. Look, like, it was great. She cannot make the same album every time. So anyway, she makes Star-Crossed. I love it. It is heart-wrenching, in my opinion. It is not a typical divorce breakup album. It is very much a reflection of it. Somebody made a comment where they're like, it feels like she wrote these all like after the fact, like in hindsight. I'm like, yeah, it does, because she probably didn't want to write about it going through it. So now she's reflecting on it. And honestly, this is just my opinion. To me, I love the album because it feels like somebody after the initial heartbreak coming back and reflecting on all of the things that have happened and sharing a perspective through it. So there's something a little bit different about that in my mind, because we've all heard the like, I'm in the thick of it version of these songs. And this is like, I've been through it. I'm not yet okay, but I'm at least like past the initial like heartbreak of it and can kind of like see things a little bit more differently. And so I love this album. I've talked about this album on TikTok. I've talked about it on Twitter. Each time I have, somebody's like, I don't love it. Or I guess I haven't talked about it on Twitter yet because God forbid, like, but Instagram and TikTok. And I find people coming into my comments or my mentions being like, yeah, I don't like it. It's terrible. It's not like what it was. And I'm like, cool. Like, I'm sorry that it's not what you were hoping for. And I'm sorry that I enjoy it, but like, why? Like, this is so silly. And it's not like hey, I don't love it personally, like not my album, but like, I appreciate like whatever. It's like literally people being like, I'm really disappointed. And it's a divorce album. I can't believe you even like it. And it's like, just move on. Just like, who cares?
Yeah. Like if you posted something about Casey Musgrave, I actually saw your post on Instagram and I was like, I haven't listened to it. So like scroll, like, I have nothing to add to the conversation. And if someone's enjoying something and out there living their best life, loving the new Casey Musgraves album and you don't like it, okay, just go, just keep going.
Oh, one of my favorite podcasts outside of our own, obviously, in Meathead Test Kitchen, is Kate Kennedy has a podcast called Be There in 5. And she prominently talks about pop culture and just different stuff. And she talks about this a lot where she's like, her big thing is that, especially in pop culture, people like to peg women as like, oh, you just love to talk about all this like fun and like, girly things about pop culture. And she's like, pop culture is pop culture because it's popular. It's something that it's a part of our culture. It's a part of it is a part of our world. And she's like, I love like kind of studying and looking at it and understanding like, why do things become popular? Why do things become trends? Why do things become this? But people like to write her off as just being like a frivolous female. And she always brings that up of like, I just don't get why it's a big deal that I have interests in whatever topic, but people come to her and get mad at her for for caring about pop culture. All I will say is I will direct the people who have an issue with people who care about pop music and pop culture and just say, go listen to NSYNC's Dirty Pop, that song where they're like talking about pop music. Like that song was severely underrated, but they do call out people for hating on pop culture. Right.
That's the one thing that gets me, like total sidebar and tangent. Like
I brought up NSYNC. Nothing can get like further off the
I mean, bye. Am I right? But the thing that always gets me about pop culture and like people hating on it or hating on people who love it, pop is short for popular culture. Like if you like any top 40s music at all, and that doesn't include just pop music, it could be rock music, it could be alt music. That's why it's all popular, and there's a reason for it. And actually, I saw some video like going through the reasons that songs get popular and like why certain other songs aren't popular. And it's usually because part of that song reminds you of another song that you already like. And it's like really interesting to like look through like why songs become popular.
I'm so glad that you brought that up because actually I encourage you all however we got here, but this is a fun little experiment to do. That is a great point. I love that Sasha brought this up. This is synergy. I was having this thought the other day because I am like keenly aware that like my favorite songs all kind of sound the same. So go look at like your favorite songs. This isn't going to work for everything, to be clear. Like if you're like, I'm looking at it and they like, this Eminem song doesn't match this Savage Garden song. Well, no kidding. Those are two very different artists and genres. Right. But like I was looking through like my recent songs, and if I could play all the melodies for everyone, there's this remix of Bittersweet Symphony that I really like. There's a new song called Distance by One Republic. There's this song called Glory Days by the Vamps. Casey Musgrave's Easier Said is one of my favorite. I'm listing these because my point is if you listen to them all in order, they kind of have a similar like not melody, but they all kind of have a similar vibe. They got Vertigo by Khalid is one of my Khalid. How does he say his?
I think it's Khalid. I think.
The problem is DJ Khaled throws me off, and so my apologies
they're probably,
I think it's Khalid.
Okay.
I have to look it up because I hate that I just did that for him.
I totally misspoke. It wasn't a video. It's actually in the book, The Power of Habit. So the song that it was about was Hey Ya. Everyone knows Hey Ya. Everyone loves Hey Ya. But when they first tested it in markets, everyone hated it. So then they started looking at the popular songs of that time period and we're like, okay, well, we've got to contact these radio stations and have them start playing this song that sounds similar. So then when they re-released the song, they had already been asking these radio stations to play songs that were more similar in tone and
that's why you all say the radio sounds the same. When you're like, every song on the radio sounds the same.
There's a reason for that. They're marketing to your brain. It's crazy how our brains work. But when they re-released it and then re-promoted it, everyone freaking loved Hey Ya. It was a top 10 song.
Yeah.
For a long time.
All of you you're doing it to yourselves too. Go look at your Apple Music playlist, look at your Spotify playlist, look at your favorite playlist. And I promise you there's a trend that you're developing for yourself. And that's I think that actually is like a nice way to like ultimately wrap this episode up, because the thing is we all have things that make us who we are. We all have interests. We all have things that make us unique, different, and our thought process, we bring different things to the table. And so my Spotify on repeat playlist is not going to look the same as Sasha's. It's not going to look the same as yours. And all of that is okay. I just wish people, when they came across things that they don't agree with or things that they don't have something to offer, could just move on and realize that your words have power, and you don't need to ruin people's days over something so minor.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't like Sasha and Sadie's podcast. One, you're a damn fool, but two, that's fine. Go find that podcast or whatever that does fulfill your day and move on, and don't ruin other people's days in the process. Like, it is not necessary to do that. I mean, for those two comments, I mean, how many followers do you have on TikTok now? Like 8,000, 7,000, 8,000, like
close to 8.
So there you go. Like, sorry to these two random men, but there is a large group of people who do support this and want this information, want to see it. Like, you are free to move on and go spend your day elsewhere. Yes. Like, it's simple. It's so simple.
Yeah. That's why I have actually in the last probably 6 months have posted the same thing twice, like, because I see people commenting on crap on, like Twitter. And instead of just not saying anything at all, or the first time I ever did this, it was, I don't care. You must care enough that you took time out of your day to type out, I don't care, and hit send. If you truly don't care, then you would just simply not say anything. It's so much easier to just not be an asshole and be kind or not say anything at all than it is to take time out of your day to say something hurtful to somebody else that you don't even know.
Yeah. You just don't know what people are going through, and you don't know what, I mean, I just think taking a step back and realizing, like, we can't all agree on things. We don't all have the same interests, and that's totally fine. It just, I think choosing kindness, and I love just literally say less, say less. And this is coming from somebody who does a lot of talking for a living. Sometimes it's fine to just literally say less. And if you find yourself triggered by something, ask yourself why, because there are certain times where I am not telling you that there are certain times where a person deserves to be ratioed to the sun on Twitter. Like, you know what I'm talking about. Yes. There are certain instances where it's like, that person deserves every ounce of the hate and attention that they're getting because they asked for it. Like, roll up to McDonald's, here's the bag of attention that you were looking for. Like, yes, that is a different case. But for most of it, when people are minding their own business, enjoying something in life, or doing something that is impactful for other people, but it's just not for you, move on. Let people exist, and don't be the reason to ruin people's days. It's not ultimately going to make you feel better. Even if in the moment it feels like you got some sense of power, I promise you that is incredibly fleeting, which is probably why those people continue to do it, because they're constantly seeking that feeling of power, and then it's gone before they even get to the next person that they're angry at.
Mm-hmm. That's beautifully said. Like, mic drop, sister.
You always make me feel good because I'm all my wild thoughts. Really quick before we end this episode, Sasha, I'm trying to send these emails to you.
Okay.
But they're not. I don't know if something's going on with Outlook today, but if it is, same mood. Outlook is just like not working today, not interested. But a few of you did email us. I cannot at the moment reply to you and or forward them to Sasha. I've been trying, and that is something. But I want to just point this one email out, and we can go through more of them next week. But I just really, this one, Yuri, who has emailed us before, he reaches out to us on Twitter as well. Just apologize for not being interactive as of late. Please never apologize.
No.
Like, we just appreciate you being there no matter what. But he said he's had a pretty rough, several months. And I won't get into details of everything that he sent, but just said that this 1 hour or so of our podcast makes him feel a little bit better. And I'm so glad to hear that. I've always thought as we start these podcasts, like, I hope you're getting something out of this, because it always feels like it goes a bunch of different directions. Mm-hmm. But when you say it makes you feel better, like you're having a conversation with us, I'm glad. That is what I want. That is what, when Sasha and I set out for this, like, we just wanted to bring you into this world a little bit. And honestly, I don't get to talk to Sasha enough. So like, for me, this is just like a very therapeutic hour every single time we record. So I'm just glad that you all get to be here and be present for it, because honestly, it's therapeutic for me as well.
Absolutely agree. And we've said that several times, but honestly, without like starting to cry, like Yuri I've known, quote unquote, I've never met him in person, but has always been a huge supporter, honestly, of anything I've ever done in this space. And to hear that something that we're doing or talking about is beneficial to him, like, really, it really does mean the world. It really does. We appreciate you, and the kind words are truly felt. So thank you for listening. And I'm glad that we can at least be some kind of bright spot in your life.
Like Sasha said, I will get emotional. So I'm going to just also throw this out there, but the people also want Sasha swag. Like, get out of my yard and leave women alone.
Seriously. Get off of my lawn, get out of it.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to look into, I love that it was called Sasha swag, because that is a really like good, those are NIL opportunities, Sasha. I'm just going to like throw that out there. This is a name, image, and likeness opportunity that maybe cannot pass us by.
For sure. Well,
as always, we really appreciate you listening. Like we said, it means something to us that so many of you feel like this is a conversation that you get to be a part of every week. It means a lot that you join us. Feel free to email us at mindyourownpodcast@hillvarsity.com. At some point, I'll be able to forward your recent emails to Sasha. But like I said, apparently Outlook has decided it does not feel like working today. And again, same. So hopefully you are having a better day than Microsoft Outlook is having right now. I even like went to Twitter to see if Microsoft down or was like trending or something. And one tweet I found was like, literally don't care. And I was like, that's such a mood. People are like, Microsoft is down. Shoot.
Oh, darn.
Darn it. So love that for Microsoft. Your brand is as strong as ever. Oh, poor Microsoft. We are not hating. We are just loving you. Kind of.
When you decide to work.
Well, as always, again, mind your own podcast at hillvarsity.com. You can also tweet at us at Aaron Sorensen, at Sasha72. Go do something good we said this last week, but go do something good for yourself this week. Go look at your playlist on Spotify. Like I said, you will notice a trend. Have some fun looking at like your favorite songs and being like, whoa,
Wow.
I have a type.
I thought my music type was unique. Turns out they all sound the same.
I think the greatest epiphany I have had as an adult with music is that I am basic as heck and I do not care. And I like a good basic melody. So
amen.
Amen. Don't care if that bothers anybody. I love a good pop song. Give me a good melody and a good beat and I'm happy. So Taylor Swift, we're jamming. All right. Well, I told Sasha we would end this podcast 8 minutes ago, and I have still managed to not follow the rules that I set for myself, but we will be back next week with another episode. Email us, tweet at us. We will talk to you later. We appreciate you. Have a good week. Yes. Goodbye.
Bye.
A Huda Media Production.